Welcome to the Grit Hoops Podcast, powered by Grit Basketball, where passion meets performance. This is the show for players, coaches, and parents who are committed to real development, elite skills, and the mindset it takes to win. We break down the game, cut through the myths, and give you the tools to maximize potential on and off the court. If you're ready to put in the work and take your game to the next level, let's get to it.
Okay, welcome to the Grit Hoops Podcast. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. If you're first time, glad you're here. Today, Coach Wade and I are going to dive deep into the topic, why positions limit players' future success. This topic is one that we talk about often, and we're going to dive deep into it right now. So, Coach Wade, what's the first thought you have on why do you think positions limit players?
I think that we don't want to have a player develop one set of skills. We've all heard the term, you don't want to be a one-trick pony, all right? So let's say it's not a center, but let's say it's just somebody who focuses primarily on shooting. So you're the quote-unquote shooting guard, or you're the small forward that just runs the lane and runs to the corner and shoots the ball. So that's only the only thing you're asked to do on a team. But at the most elite levels, a player that only shoots the ball is easily negated by just running them off the line. If you can't put the ball on the ground and do something else with it, then you're doomed to be stopped by a defense the moment that somebody takes that away from you or attacks you. Putting yourself in that one-trick pony spot, even if you're a really elite shooter, how elite are you? Are you Steph Curry? If you're not Steph Curry, then you're not really elite, because to me, I know to you, Coach, Steph Curry, we hold him in such high regard because he is the top. He's the pinnacle. This is where you want to strive to be as a shooter or as an individual that really, really hones in and focuses on your shooting. But Steph Curry's not just a shooter. If you haven't heard that before, I'm sorry to break it to you, Steph Curry's not just a shooter. Mm-hmm. Steph Curry can drive the ball. He can finish the ball, elite level with both hands. He's got everything. So let's just stop it right there.
Yep.
That's what it means to not be a one-trick pony. Very important that you don't limit yourself and your abilities, and that you don't have a coach limit you as well.
First part that we want to mention as part of the issue, right now we're going to go into the problem, is not limiting players on the court by giving them a role, not working with them with other skills because of a specific role or a specific position. So that's the first thing we really want to address. When players are younger and they lock into specific positions, they may miss out on learning fundamental skills needed to be well-rounded players. For example, a taller player that focuses on being a center, they may not develop ball handling. They may not develop perimeter shooting, defensive versatility, guarding guards. A player that is asked to just be a shooter may not develop ball handling. They may not develop step-throughs, fadeaways, all that stuff. That is the first issue that we want to talk about. Second issue.
So I think it's adaptability.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of prevents them from being able to adapt to not just the team that they're on, but any other team or any other skill level in the future. If you're that center that's been a center your whole life, now you're on your college team and they're playing a 5-out offense, and they want you to do more than just clog up the paint. This is where, if you've learned these things at a younger age, it would really come into play now. So it's very important that you make yourself adaptable by learning multiple skills, learning, quote unquote, all positions rather than limiting yourself to just one. And this is not to just put a knock on centers. I know centers are coming out of my mouth a lot, but this is...
It could be a point guard as well. Why can't you be a point guard that could do step-throughs and turnarounds like Brunson? Mm-hmm. Right? Exactly. Jalen Brunson, who is one of the top point guards in the NBA, he does a ton of post footwork, if you want to label it, right? But it's just footwork. It's not post footwork. It's not guard footwork. It's just footwork. Anyone can learn these moves and this type of footwork. So we believe it's even the other way around, being adaptable in any situation, whether you teach step-throughs and turnarounds to your post or your guards. Okay, so adaptability is the second topic that we think is crucial when it comes to addressing this. Okay, so that's another issue, and that's another thing you want to think about. The third thing, when you limit players, is it limits their court awareness and their basketball IQ. So when you limit players to specific roles and positions, you're obviously going to limit their growth and their IQ and their awareness in other positions because you're just training them to one position. In basketball, it's not like football. You're not stuck in a position that has a set of rules and boundaries that you cannot explore around. You want your players to be as positionless as possible. If you do limit them by roles or by positions, you're going to limit their court awareness and their basketball IQ overall.
Also, number 4 is kind of what we've been alluding to before, is that it hinders your long-term growth. If you are stuck as that one position from your entire life, you've played, you're that center that's played from 12-year-old until 14 years old, and then by the time you're in high school, your height isn't the same as it used to be. Now that height is like for a shooting guard. Now you'll be asked to play a different position. You don't ever want to stick yourself into one position. You're going to need to play multiple positions in order to be effective at the highest levels.
So the fourth one we have, a fourth issue, and the fourth thing we want to address is that it hinders long-term growth. All right, and then our write-up on this is youth players are still growing physically and mentally. A kid who plays any position at age 12 may not be that position at age 16 or 21 or whatever. So you want to teach all skills to all kids. Number 5, our last area that we think is a major issue and we want to bring to your attention why this topic is important, is it reduces confidence and enjoyment. Why do we have this one in there? Because we truly believe, especially when a game like basketball, players want to be able to contribute offensively, defensively. They want to contribute well-rounded wise into a game. If you limit their development, you're going to automatically limit their confidence within the game because they want to contribute and do things usually like what guards are doing. They want to contribute in other ways, maybe whether it's shooting or driving, and you're going to limit those things. So you're going to actually ultimately limit the confidence and the enjoyment of the game. If you want your son or daughter to enjoy the game, or you want your players to really enjoy the game, help them advance their skills in a well-rounded way, and you will see that they enjoy the game a lot more.
I think that was well said. Hey, before we talk about some solutions and what the positionless development looks like, we're going to call a quick timeout from a word from Grit Basketball.
Basketball players and coaches, want to take your finishing to an elite level? The Grit Elite Finisher course is your fast track to mastering layups with both hands, finishing through contact, and making every shot count. This step-by-step program gives you lifetime access to high-level training and downloadable resources, helping you go from struggling at the rim to finishing with confidence in just weeks. Don't just take our word for it. Players like Diamond Miller of the Minnesota Lynx, Tucker Richardson playing pro in Europe, Olivia Miles from Notre Dame, Jalen Blakes played at Duke and Stanford, and Michaela Blakes at Vanderbilt. They have all sharpened their skills through elite training like this. For just $2.99, you get everything you need to elevate your game. Ready to finish strong? Sign up for the Grit Elite Finisher course today at gritbasketball.com. That's gritbasketball.com.
What we're talking about today, positionless basketball, why positions limit players' long-term growth. Second segment here, we're going to talk about the solutions. First thing that we want to mention with the solutions is coaches should focus on all players in a variety of ways when it pertains to their skills. Skills should address ball handling, shooting, passing, defense, footwork, all skills for all players. Positions based on height or early physical attributes can hinder the long-term development of a player. So we believe the solutions are the following. So for players, your focus should be don't let positions label or define you. The best players can dribble, pass, shoot, defend, no matter what height they are. If you play by a role, you might miss out on skills that would help you later on in your future and in your long-term development. Work on every part of your game so that you can be adaptable and excel at the higher levels.
And parents, your child's long-term success in basketball isn't about playing a specific position. It's about developing a complete skill set. Early specialization can limit growth. Encourage your child to learn every aspect of the game. This will help them enjoy the sport and stay more competitive as they mature.
And when we say early specialization, we mean specifically telling your kid they're a shooter, telling them they're a center, telling them they're even a point guard, right? You might limit a kid that thinks he's a point guard or point guard. He associates, let's say, just passing with a point guard, and he doesn't shoot. Now that your son or daughter is just a passer and they can't score the ball well.
And we see a lot of this with the players that we train with, especially parents, when they say what they think their son or daughter needs as far as training is concerned. That's when we actually know that this is what they think they are, and when we see them, it's like, honestly, it's all the same for every player. They need everything.
Mm-hmm. And for our coaches out there, Coach Wade and I will bounce around on this one because there's I believe coaches have such a big and important impact on kids. We know we can really change a player's trajectory. So first thing for coaches, let's have more of a positionless based approach when we coach our kids, especially at the youth levels. Whether that's 5-out offense, and we're teaching, really try not to hone specific positions when you're thinking of development. Instead of assigning rigid roles, focus on teaching every position a full range of skills. Ball handling, shooting, passing, defense, all a full range of skills. Like at Grit, what we teach is we have a library of skills that we want to address and we want all of our players to learn. Some kids are going to be better at some things than others, but we want to teach all those skills to every kid. This approach fosters versatility, it increases basketball IQ, and it helps your kids with their overall long-term success. Regardless of their physical attributes, you're still going to give them the best chance to be successful on the court.
One thing I just wanted to say with that as well is, personally, on my youth teams, we don't even use positions. We used what's called, like the person who attacks the most is called the primary attacker. Very simple. That person is we want him to attack or her to attack every single time they touch the ball with a basket drive, or even a shot, right? Then the next person who attacks the most is called the secondary attacker. The secondary attacker is slightly less than the primary attacker, but what happens when the primary attacker gets hurt or can't play this game? The secondary attacker now becomes the primary attacker, and the one who is the tertiary attacker now becomes the secondary attacker. So there's a hierarchy we play with as far as attackers are concerned, and we even have a primary ball handler and secondary ball handler as far as who we want to handle pressure. So we kind of get away from positions altogether and give people their assignments based upon what they can do.
And at Grit, we have a program that will be coming soon that helps coaches break down these attacking positions how we word it. Primary attacker, secondary attacker, tertiary attacker. So we think those are more open-minded approaches to giving kids roles, right? A primary attacker is not specific to what they're going to do. They can do whatever they attack with what they do best, right? A secondary attacker may be a kid that can't create their own shot, and maybe they're catch and shoot, but they attack with what they do best, right? A tertiary attacker may be someone that's not as skilled, but they attack in their way, what they do best. So it's
probably the person who is in the corner taking that corner shot.
Or rebounding the ball, Dennis Rodman type, maybe if they don't have a full skill set. As you progress your kids and get your kids better, hopefully one day you have a team of primary attackers. or everyone is primary and secondary attackers. Because if you focus on development, that's the goal. You want to have multiple people that can attack the defense.
So we want to let you know that development comes first. Wins and losses at the youth level should not be a priority. Long-term development is what you should really prioritize. Coaches and parents must foster an environment where players are encouraged to improve in all areas of their game rather than being limited to a single role. A strong foundation of skills will prepare players for higher levels of competition where their versatility is essential.
Like Coach said, development comes first. All right, next point, all right, and next solution, the power of a knowledgeable trainer, coach, or mentor can have a huge impact on your son's, daughters, or your players' development. We recommend coaches get trainers to come in and work with your kids. They might teach them something maybe you're not great at teaching them. Parents, get your kids with a trainer. Obviously, that is what we do, and we really see the value of it on a daily basis, but try to connect with local trainers. Coaches sometimes don't like to bring trainers in because maybe they're intimidated or they think it's a threat to show that to their knowledge. But if we're really about the player and we really want to help the player get better, I truly believe it shows a lot of character when a coach is like, hey, let's bring in these people to help our kids. Hey, let's connect our kids with these outside sources to help them develop. So I really think there's a very powerful source there that parents and coaches can utilize more because there's trainers all over now, and I think that is actually a blessing. A lot of people complain about it. You find good trainers and try to connect them with your kids and with your program so that they can help your kids progress forward.
Well said, well said. I think probably the ultimate solution would be for coaches and players alike. You guys got to get the grit training curriculum. It's very important. We focus on players that are in our area that walk through the door. But in this scenario, we are giving our knowledge out to you. This is for you guys. You can be anywhere in the world and learn this for yourself, get a leg up on the competition, or you can be a coach and even help other youth players with the skills that you learn from this curriculum. The curriculum be structured in a development program for coaches and players to integrate into team practices. The program will ensure that skill development is embedded in the team training rather than being an afterthought. Coaches using this system will help players grow in all aspects of their game, promoting a positionless basketball mindset that prepares them for the future. By following this curriculum, teams will not only improve their performance, but also ensure that every player has the tools needed to succeed at the next level.
We feel very dearly about what we teach on a daily basis, and to put it into curriculum for coaches, youth coaches, high school coaches, college coaches to follow and to have a tool and an asset to lean on to help them implement more skills into their training, into their practices and their training. That's our goal. We just want to try to continue to help more kids on a large scale. Like we said, this curriculum is positionless basketball, and it teaches how to have a skill-based practice. Players, it would teach you drills that you can do on your own that would help you focus on your development in a strategic way where you're going to get better and not waste time on things that aren't going to progress you forward.
Yes, for parents as well. You guys have to support long-term development over short-term success. You may even get your son or daughter to go to 1 or 2 training sessions and then see immediate success and maybe a 3-pointer here, or we get a lot of, hey, my son came to your training on the weekend and he just scored 10 points the next game. But that is the short-term success. We are in it for the bigger picture, and the bigger picture lies years ahead when you're doing all this stuff effortlessly on the college level and you are the most elite player on your team, getting the lion's share minutes and scoring the most points, and you're playing in the NCAA games and you are going into the WNBA or the NBA. This is what we strive for, not just that short-term goal.
Hopefully we gave you some valuable information and some gems. We'll love to hear your thoughts on the topic, any thoughts you may have with what we brought up, whether you agree or disagree. You can email us at podcast@gritbasketball.com. Lastly, the final segment of our show, the post-game press conference.
All right, so we're here with the post-game press conference. I don't know why everybody always emails Coach Kerry. They can always email Coach Wade too, but it's okay.
Yep.
It's all good. I'll read it. Coach Kerry, I'm really enjoying the podcast. I live in Pennsylvania, and I have a son who just finished the 8th grade school season. After listening to episode 2, I just want to know your thoughts on how to identify AAU programs that prioritize development over just winning the game. Thanks, Coach Mike.
Well, Coach Mike, first off, love the mindset. Loved how you're prioritizing development over, just games. Love it. That's what it's all about. So your question specifically is, how do you identify that, and how do you see that to kind of get a kid a part of that program that does that? That is a very tough one because you have to watch their practices, you have to watch their games, you have to see the coach's demeanor when they miss a shot. So there's no way around it other than you get involved for a bit. Maybe you try out for multiple teams. You watch what their practices are like. Do they do a good portion of skills? Is it advanced skills or is it very, very basic? Are the coaches that are teaching, can they demonstrate some of the skills? Maybe that can give you an idea of can this coach teach my kid to get a little better at basketball? You can also one last thing is watch how they coach the games. If they coach the games in a way that's a growth-minded approach, that will help give you idea as well.
I wanted to jump in too and just say you always want to make sure that you have supplemental training as well. You can't just put it on the AAU and say, oh, this AAU coach isn't doing a skill-based practice, so what am I to do? Oh, woe is me. Nope, you got to have supplemental training. You got to also be training on your own. Therefore, even if you did have an AAU coach that doesn't focus on it, you're still getting your training elsewhere because that's the most important part.
Yep, so either way, you should be training outside of your team practices. Unfortunately, at this time, most coaches don't do skill-based practices. Our goal for future is that we can inspire more coaches to do skill-based practices and continue moving, in that direction. But right now, even whether you're getting skill-based practices or not, try to seek out outside sources.
All right.
Next question.
Next is from Jamal. Hey, Coach Kerry, I'm a sophomore in high school, and I feel stuck in the system that my high school coach has us running. Any advice?
Jamal, you're probably not the only kid with that question.
That's right.
So Jamal, first thing is I think you got to look at yourself. If you feel stuck in a system of the offense, ask yourself, what are you capable of doing more that's outside of that, right? So I think you got to figure out what you're capable of doing more, really hone those skills to make sure you're effective at them. So first, we're always mostly going to point the finger back at you to say, hey, what can you do and how can you get better? All right, so if you get better, usually a coach will give you a little more freedom. You may get a little more opportunities to be that elite player, that primary attacker. So first thing you want to do is look at yourself. Coach Wade, what do you think for a second piece of advice?
Second piece of advice is how can I apply what I already am good at to the game, right? So if I'm only good at this thing or these few things and our system doesn't include that, I have to find a way that I can include what I do best in this system, I want to have my little bit of salt in the spaghetti, or I'm just trying to think of any analogy I can think of. I want to have my little piece on it as well. So the system, you don't have to be bound by the system. Instead, you want to be a player with enough skills that you're able to adapt to any system. So it always comes back to, like you said, back to me. I think we both said the same exact thing.
Yeah, it does. It goes, yeah, good point, Coach. So thank you, Coach Mike and Coach Jamal. Well, not Mike and Jamal, the player, but thank you, both of you, for your emails, and keep them coming. We love to get your feedback. We love to get your emails. Hopefully we could give you a little gem And Jamal, like we just talked to as a player, we'd love to hear from you guys because you're the ones with the playing career ahead of you. Once again, hopefully you continue training, continue developing, and you could get yourself out of a role or out of a system that, you feel that might be limiting you. And time for a wrap up here. Thanks for listening once again. This is the Grit Hoops Podcast. If you got a gem or anything valuable out of today's episode, please share it. We also would love to hear your questions or any feedback at podcast@gritbasketball.com. Always feel free to visit our website, gritbasketball.com, for information about training if you're local or hiring us to come out to your teams. You can always reach out to us and we will set up. Today, I believe we're setting up, we're traveling out to Georgia, we're traveling out to some other states to do some training for different coaches. And you are always welcome to reach out to us to see if we could set that up for you as well. All right. And lastly, our Grit course is online. You can see information about that on our website, gritbasketball.com. Look at online training or online courses, and you'll see that as well.
Thanks for having me, Coach. I think I'll come back if you don't mind. If you don't mind, I think I'll come back.
Coach Wade is fan. He is like we said. We're happy to have Coach Wade on all these episodes, or as many as that he can join, and we're gonna keep bringing them for you guys. All right, so keep up the great work, and always remember to attack first.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Grit Hoops Podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, be sure to subscribe or follow so you never miss an episode. Got questions or topics you want us to cover? Hit us up at gritbasketball.com/podcast or connect with us on social media. And remember, greatness isn't given, it's earned. Keep putting in the work, attack first, and we'll see you next time.